Joining us now is Democratic Congressman and Ranking Member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and Representative Gregory Meeks.
Representative, I don't even know where to start because there's so much. We could talk about tariffs. We could talk about these Iran negotiations. We could talk about Bukele's visit. So instead, let's just sort of zoom out and think about it all, which is Donald Trump's pitch to Americans was, I'm going to make you safer and more secure. In this moment, should Americans feel safer and more secure?
No, they should be very worried. There's blinking red lights
everywhere,
all over the place. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about security, we're less secure now with regards to him shutting down USAID, with regards to him not and treating our allies as if they are our adversaries and our adversaries as if they're our allies. Economically, with these tariffs, you can see that the cost and goods are going up. He said that they would go down on day one. He's now saying, oh, we're going to suffer a little bit. But you listen to the economists, they all say now the chance of recession has continued to rise, and look at individuals' 401ks and look at the cost of everything that's moving forward. So things are going just the opposite. And then you talk to our friends and our allies, as I have. I've been speaking to various foreign ministers and ambassadors around the world. They're all concerned, and what they're doing now is looking at alternatives to the United States. You hear the president talk about people want to negotiate with the United States, but guess what? They're negotiating with themselves, and who else now is playing a bigger role in this? China. Mm-hmm. European unions are negotiating with China. Our allies in the Indo-Pacific now taking another look at China to try to figure out, and China's negotiating things. You look at the vacuums that are caused by the shutdown of USAID and what's happening with our allies in that regards. China and Russia's moving in. So, no, we're not safer, and our rights. You had a great segment on today with the ACLU talking about how rights are being taken away from us. People are just, it's almost Gestapo-like when you see folks coming up in masks and just grabbing people off the streets and throwing them in a van. No, we are not safer, we're not freer, and we're economically going down the drain.
I mean, you just laid it out on the table for us, Congressman. The point about that the world is moving on without us is something that Michael has been making the point of the last couple of weeks, and it is very true. I mean, if you just do one quick Google search, folks, and say EU trade in the news section, what pops up is voters want Keir Starmer to focus on rebuilding trade ties within EU. She wants EU-China tag team to resist Trump's trade onslaught. In trade crisis, China courts the EU as a hedge against Trump. That's The Guardian, Politica, Reuters. The world is moving on. There are so many people that believe and I mean, we bought into it, this idea of American exceptionalism. I think it's what, makes us Americans a little, it's kind of annoying on the international stage, but also it's what makes us American, right? We believe that we can do anything. However, it is a farce, I think, when it comes to this trade situation, that we can just bulldoze our way through the world and the world is going to take it because we're America. It feels to me, Congressman, that the world is not going to take it. And the people that will be hurt are Americans, our consumers in this country, our business owners, our restaurant owners, our workers.
You are 100% right. That's why I was proud to see last weekend, for example, people are in the streets. You talked earlier about the power belongs to the people. Well, this is the time for us to stand up because the power does belong to the people. Look, people in the United States and around the world were protesting last week, and we need to make sure that protest is maintained. And also, don't be afraid. Because I talked about of the limitations of rights that this president wants to put in, and what he's done also. This is more of the time to make sure that we're standing up and being vocal about standing up for our rights. He's also have taken away all of the inspector generals. He's moving all of the generals in the Army, changing them so that their loyalty is not to this country, their loyalty is to him. So it is time for the folks. People start standing up, and being in the streets is different. My Republican colleagues who seem to be just blanking over and just letting this happen, they are starting to feel the pain and starting to feel the pressure also by people being in the streets. They no longer want to do town hall meetings. They're now having to have some second thoughts. So I just say that the people continue to doing what you're doing because it will work. We will fight in the courts. You saw that Hakeem Jeffries has us out every day during the recess that we have in Congress while we're at home. I'm doing a big community meeting tomorrow morning. Let's get the facts out there. I believe that there's more good Americans and people around the world than there are that will follow Donald Trump. And we just make sure our voices are heard and we're staying focused and get in the streets and protest.
Okay, Congressman. So, let's you and I now, based off of what Simone has leveled up, what Alicia has leveled up, create a combo meal. We're going to have a combo meal right now because this is now the perfect intersection of two very important points. The first being what Axios was reporting last Friday, quote, regarding the new hot trade thing that's going on. For decades, the world has invested in America. Now a global moment of clarity threatens to redirect trillions of dollars of capital inflows and diminish the U.S. in the international economic order. So to Simone's point about how we like to beat our breasts because we can do anything, we are going to be sorely limited, severely limited in what we can do when nobody wants to partner with us. That's the first part of the meal. The second part of the meal is what Hill Democrats are doing, led by you, sir, at this moment, taking aim at the tariffs. Quote, from Politico, Meeks and the Democrats are bringing the legislation to the House floor through a fast-track process that can bypass committees and leadership and ultimately force a vote on the floor. But Johnson has tools, Speaker Johnson, to sidestep the vote, and it's not clear that Democrats will have the votes to defeat them. And here is where you get indigestion off the meal. Because the reality is what the first part is. The world is moving on from the U.S., all right? We thought we were the hottest ticket in town and everyone had to buy it. No, we don't. Not anymore, as you've already laid out. The other problem, though, is that what can Democrats effectively do, given the limited power you have in the House? How can you cobble together combinations of voices and leadership to hold the line as you're trying to do? Because that's where the people, right, need its political leadership in the House, right? In this building behind me, to make all of this work for them. How do you do that, sir?
We're not going to stop. I put this bill together to make sure that Congress would stop these tariffs from moving forward. You're right, the Speaker blocked it so that it would not be a vote. There's a reason, because if there's a vote, some of the Republicans will sign off on it also. So my next step, I'm not stopping there, is to have and put out a motion to discharge. I have to wait for 30 days. So when we get back, I will be putting out a motion to discharge and then work to get some of my Republicans to sign on, because that's another method to get the vote on the House floor. I've joined forces with some of Republicans. For example, Republican Representative Bacon has a bill that came out of the Senate that said give the power back. Make sure that Congress utilizes its power and has the power to stop these tariffs and move, because that's what the Constitution says. I'm joining him on his bill to get the power back to Congress so that there will be votes on the floor. So I'm talking to Republicans because they are feeling some heat from their district also, to have them join. And all we need is three or four of them. That's all we need. So I'm working day and night to make sure that we bring some of them along, as well as making sure that every procedure that we have, we will not stop. We will not just sit back and lay down and allow this president to destroy this country. And I believe that the American people, and you see evidence of that now, are starting to stand up, whether they be Democrats or Republicans. The American people, the over great number of them are starting to put their voices out. We've been up and down in American history, and generally we come through it as a better country. And I think that that's when our voices, Dr. King said, when the silent voices start making noise, that changes things. And that's what I see, the positive that I see that's beginning to happen. It doesn't happen overnight. We've got to stay to the case and keep pressing. But then I believe that we will save our country and we will make sure that we work collectively with our friends and allies around the world.
I want to be sure that I ask you about the detention of Mahmoud Khalil. You have Rubio citing the Immigration and Nationality Act in his memo as the rationale for his authority to deport Mahmoud Khalil. It is our understanding that as part of that act, the Secretary of State would be required to brief the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee on the basis for that deportation. To your knowledge, has Chairman Mast been briefed on this?
Not to my knowledge. In fact, just this week, I have, in a committee hearing that we had, or markup that we had, I asked Chairman Mast to bring Secretary Rubio in front of the committee so that we can ask him those questions. Ordinarily, in the general practice, the Secretary of State we have oversight of him. We should have him before us. We've not had any hearing where someone from the administration has come before us in public to have dialogue and answer questions. We had one with Mr. Morocco, who really is overseeing and took over the USAID in a private meeting with no cameras, no one there, people only having 1 minute to ask a question. We need to have these administration officials before the House, before the committees, so that they can be held accountable and address questions. I asked Mast about Rubio. He's made no commitments there about him coming before the committee.
You anticipated my next question. Congressman Gregory Meeks of New York. Congressman, thank you, as always.